What's up, golfers? Today I'm going to talk to you about the bane of my existence. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to talk about probably some of the most common mistakes or technical, I guess, flaws we see in the gym day in, day out. I've seen them for 20 plus years, and we'll continue to see them because people are people. And that's, people want to go to the gym, they want to be fit, they'll be willing to put the time and the work in. But if you aren't really focused on the details while you're doing every exercise and you're just kind of going through the motions, sadly, you're going to be wasting some of your time. It's not a total waste of time, but you're going to be ingraining bad habits. You're going to be ingraining poor posture when you're doing these movements. So that is... you're feeding the computer program in your brain a movement pattern, and if you give it faulty information, that pattern is going to get ingrained, and that's what's going to come out when you do the exercise over and over and over again. So again, practice does not make perfect, practice makes permanent, right? So we want to practice perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. That's what one of my golf instructors used to say. It's perfect practice makes perfect. So when we're working on something in repetition, when we're exercising, we want to be mindful of what we're doing in the positioning of our body while we're doing it, okay? So many golfers will think about every little position in the golf swing and where they should be, but when they're doing an exercise, they're just pulling away or they're pushing. You're not thinking at all about technically how they should be doing the exercise. So if that's you, get your brain and your body connected here. Let's start with step one. Like I said before, I mentioned it already, posture is one of the most important things. It's probably the most important thing when you're doing an exercise. If you set up with poor posture, even if you're just walking through life with poor posture, okay, my belly sticks out, my head comes forward, I probably look like I'm 10 to 15 years older than if I actually stand up tall, pull my head up, not back, get my head up tall, set my shoulders down away from my ears, get my spine as long as I can. So now I'm in actually a good, solid position. But most people will not even think about how they're carrying themselves day in, day out. This is the one vehicle you have in life to get through it. If you just practice with poor alignment, that's what is going to come out. So step one, get your posture set. Ear over shoulder, over hip, over knee, over foot. Now, I know 9 out of 10 of you are going to hear that and say, yeah, I know my posture sucks. But hopefully 1 out of 10 of you people will actually think about it and say, okay, if I just check my posture maybe once an hour and correct it, maybe I'll start actually making some changes. And if you continue to make those changes day over day, within a year, you'll actually make some progress and you'll get back to a more upright position. Ultimately, that better alignment is going to put less stress on your spine and your joints, okay? So begin with posture in mind. Top 3 exercises I see people do improperly. Number 1 would be what we call a hinge pattern, okay? That would be if you were using a bar to do a deadlift here, okay? This would be an example of a good hinge. You see I've got my posture here with my spine. I've got the 3 contact points, tailbone, shoulder blades, head. I've got 2 neutral curves here in my spine. Can I hinge from my hips without losing contact points easily? If you're seeing, oh, I lose contact here, or oh, I lose contact here, you don't have the postural control. So this is a perfect drill to ingrain the hinge pattern. Once you have that ingrained, then we can move to a bar. Bar stays on your thighs. The goal of the exercise is to not reach down to the floor, okay? Most people will just let the bar or the dumbbells pull them down to the floor. And you can see my spine is in a really rounded position. I'm putting stress on the discs right now. And if I had a heavy load here and I lifted from here, I'm going to be putting a lot of stress on the discs. And that's how people end up with disc herniation, bulging discs, because you're putting so much bend here on the spine all the time that it basically, the discs get protruded out the back side of the spine because you're putting so much pressure on the one side, on the front side of the spine, okay? That's where a lot of disc herniations or bulging discs come from, is that there's not that control in the spine, especially when you're trying to hinge from the hips. If you're using your lumbar spine as a hinge instead of your hips, your discs will take the beating, okay? So learn to hinge by holding a broomstick or something here, pushing your butt back to a wall behind you, okay, maybe 1 foot length, and then you're going to hinge back to touch the wall, okay? I feel a stretch in my hamstrings here. I'm not bending my knees. I'm not reaching down with my arms. The bar stays close to my thighs, touching my thighs as I go back, okay? That is a hinge, okay? Really important to do that properly without weights and just get the pattern first. Establish the pattern properly. Can you do this without even thinking about it, like I'm doing here? Okay? Initially, you're going to have to concentrate on it. Once this gets to be, second nature, then you add the load and you don't have to think about it quite as much. We also have to keep this really, really strong and braced, okay? Especially the more load you have, the heavier the load is, whether you got dumbbells, barbell, keep this braced the whole time as you sit back and as you come up. So our hinge pattern, really, really important. If you're finding this video helpful, please subscribe, guys. That'll help us out so much. Second pattern I see, or movement I see people doing correctly, is the row, another pulling pattern. So the back side of the body tends to get ignored. The hinge, back side of the body for the lower, a rowing motion, or a pulling motion with the hand or the arm would be an example of a pulling motion for the upper body. So most of the time, if I had a bench here, if I have my one hand on a bench, I'm just going to use my thigh for now. This is a pretty common exercise we'll see people doing, and we'll see a lot of this. Even if the weight's heavy, we'll see, boom, pulling up. Hand pulling straight up, elbow out to the side. When we're pulling, the hand is not what should be doing the pulling. This is, I don't know how many times I've said it. If I had $1 for every time I said, the hand does not do the pulling, okay? It is the lats that should be doing the pulling, okay? I'd be a lot richer at this point, okay? I don't know if I'd be able to retire, but I would have a lot more in my bank account. So the hand holds onto the dumbbell, okay? That is it. Hold on just enough. Give it a good squeeze. You've got a firm grip on it. It's not going to fall out of my hand. The pull comes from here. So this is where I have to tell my brain to get my shoulder blade to pull back, retract. This is the start of the row. Retract your shoulder blade. Continue to squeeze that shoulder blade in towards my spine. Now you can see the dumbbell, the handle of the dumbbell and my spine are pretty much parallel. I'm not doing this. You can see there now the dumbbell is more horizontal than my spine. Those two things should match up. Handle of the dumbbell and the spine, we should see them match up. So I'm pulling more back towards my hip, and I feel a squeeze all down my lat here. If you're not feeling that, you're pulling with your hand and you're doing this, okay? Don't pull the hand in towards your armpit. Squeeze your lat, hold onto the handle, squeeze the lat, and hold it up here. 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds till you feel the squeeze. Once you got it, then let it down and repeat. Retract your shoulder blade, continue to squeeze the lat, hold, and then come down. There should be no bounce in that motion of the row. Same thing if you're right here. Cable row. We're going to retract the lat, or if you're using a band, retract the shoulder, squeeze back, come forward. You should feel it every rep. My brain is connecting here, squeeze, okay? Connect the mind with the muscle. That is going to get you a lot more results in the gym than just pulling on the cable for your 10 reps and then going on to the next exercise. Last exercise I see people doing, any pushing exercise, bench press, push-ups, okay? If you have trouble doing a push-up from your toes, don't go from your knees, okay? Still go from your toes, just put your hands on an elevated surface. That way you will have to stabilize from your toes to your hands, okay? So I'd rather see you have your hands on an elevated surface and from your toes than going down to here. So still keep the bridge from the toes to the hands, but put your hands on an elevated surface if you need to. So what we're going to do here, again, be aware of your shoulder blades, okay? We want to screw your hands into the surface that you're pushing against. Whether it's a bar on a bench press, I'm going to screw my hands into the bar and try and bend the bar, which is going to take my shoulder blades and pull them down or depress the shoulder blades down. So now my shoulder's in a much more stable position. So my right hand screws clockwise. Left hand counterclockwise, like that, without my hands moving, but you can see how my elbows tuck back towards my sides. Now my shoulders are in a stable position. I'm pushing through the ground. I'm solid here. I'm going to smoothly pull myself down. Elbows are just at my sides. Press through to the top, okay? And I'm not in this position at the top. The shoulder blades aren't tucked up towards the ears. We don't want to see that, okay? I'm not here, okay? The shoulder blades are down away from the ears, pulled down, and at the top I'm pushing through the floor. Screw those hands into the floor. My elbows point back to my thighs. I'm not elbows out and sides here, okay? Elbows are here and here. Same with bench press. I'm here. If I had a bar and I was bench pressing, my elbows would be pulled down here, right underneath the bar. Shoulders are stable and we're pressing it out, pulling it back to the chest and pressing out, feeling like you're bending the bar, okay? So that's gonna activate your shoulders, gonna make the exercise much more effective for you. So those 3 exercises, your hinge, your row or your pull pattern, your upper body push pattern, and some of the most common mistakes I see. Hopefully this helped you guys a lot. I hope you got a lot of information from it. Please subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and we'll see you next time.